What's up, guys? Evan Aldo here. Wanted to make a video kind of that's a little bit more, let's say, focused on one thing, kind of focused on Ethereum, because Ethereum, as we know, has been a complete disappointment, this year so far. A lot of people are very annoyed with it. It's bled so much against Bitcoin. It's still above the 2019 lows slightly. I mean, a little bit, probably. Let's see what that is, maybe 20% or something. Okay, 30%. And it seems like it just keeps coming down. And I mean, the main view of this market that a lot of people have, including myself too, at least to a certain extent, is that we need a little bit better, monetary policy. We need the end of QT. We need these things to happen for it to, start to fight back against Ethereum. The other argument that I've kind of made and been pretty wrong about was in the 4-year cycle that hopefully, it bottomed out had a nice bottom in January of 2020. And also, well, the one that's not completely invalidated yet, nice bottom at the end of 2020, early 2021 in the 4-year cycle. We're, 3 months behind that now. I mean, it's not 100% invalidated, but I think within the next 4 weeks, if we don't get a jump up right here, I think that's kind of this argument, to do something like this is going to kind of become a bit invalidated. I mean, it's not to say that it can't happen in the second half of this year, but, I mean, if you want to that's May of 26, like to have, well, this peak that was in December of 21, typically where it peaks out. It peaked out around the time Bitcoin peaked out. And Ethereum peaked out against their USD pairs. So you would need a start for a jump to see something significant happen against Bitcoin. And I mean, the odds of you making a higher high than your 2021 high against Bitcoin, very low for this year, I would say. But stranger things have happened. I wouldn't rule it out completely. Now, why, things we should talk about, things we should realize here that are important to talk about. You have a very rare you see a signal like this. It's like a double snake eyes. So first you had snake eyes. And I mean, these aren't the closest snake eyes. They're deep kind of anchor waves next to each other, below this solid line right here. And, that was a complete dud. You fell off, 60%, just terrible, depressing as hell. And, you're seeing kind of the same thing. Now, does this... I'm sure I've seen this on charts, but it's abnormal. It's kind of usually, sadly, I think you see this on stuff that just is on its way to zero over time. But I don't think this is on its way to zero over time. I don't think so. I hope not. So you have another snake eyes, very rare, bullish sign. And I think it would play out a lot better in that one, especially since you're deep in the red right there. You're seeing another snake eyes on the 2-week here, and your money flow may be starting to have its way up a little bit here. And the same thing here on the weekly. So those are your kind of rare bullish signs on ETH versus Bitcoin. And your monthly is getting very close to printing a deep, I don't know if this would be considered snake eyes, but another deep anchor wave, which could, change the momentum. I mean, if you were to compare it to kind of back here, this one to that one over here, and then this one to, you could kind of compare it to that one. This is November of 2019. Yeah, so it's weird. It's totally in the 4-year cycle. It's totally different. But when you look at the 4-year cycle, so ETH versus Bitcoin, the 4-year cycle is kind of, unless you're kind of, well, I mean, considering this area, December of 2020, you're 3 months off of that, 4 months off of that. So not, you're behind, but not the worst possible thing. I think I'm out of focus, but you're behind, but not the worst possible thing there. So now we're back. Sorry about that. And ultimately, if you look at others versus Bitcoin right here, this is where you're like a little bit more in line, because this is an interesting pattern. This was December of 2016. This one really was, I think, January of 2021. So 4 years, 1 month later, 4-year cycle. 4 years, 1 month later would be, it was February. It was very early February in 2025. I'd have to zoom in to really show you the exact. Now you could see, February 3rd, and you could see, that one. It was the exact, okay. It was still late. I thought for some reason, I thought if you really zoom in, it might be January, but it doesn't matter. It's approximately 4 years and 1 month after. You're holding that low so far. See that low right there? You're holding that low by quite a bit so far. And if we can break upward from this, that gives a lot of momentum to the alts. That gives a case to be made for the alts to do something. Now, 4-day yellow X, it's not the best thing. I mean, when you look at some of these time frames, it's in between. I mean, if you get the 2-week, that does look better. And then some of the high ones, 3-week, it's in between. You're deep in the red for the first time ever. Monthly, I don't know what to make of that, but there's that argument to make that we could turn around here. You look at ETH itself, and I'm thinking we should jump up a little bit farther here in the short term. You have a reverse head and shoulders, maybe back up to 1900, and then when you zoom out in ETH, the thing that's interesting, I believe, 6-day just confirmed very recently. Just confirmed this deep anchor wave. Now, if you compare it to previous ones, obviously right here is this big run up. If you could repeat something like that, that'd be nice. Into the summer, 3,200. Compared to where we are right now, I think a lot of people would be pretty happy with that. Also, if you want to get more optimistic, real optimistic, the time before that, and usually when you look at these, usually it skips a generation. It's not exactly like this. It would be more like this one. Here's your crazy frickin', everybody's going to be saying there was major manipulation going on ever here to bring us down this low. If you are to, in the next 2 months, come back up to 4,000. I think it's kind of unlikely, but I would not outrule it completely. It's possible that you could have some jumping rally, especially with big money, putting money into ETH and all that. It's possible. I could be being too optimistic. It's hard to say, but definitely possible. Now, things that we need for ETH to theoretically start to fight back against Bitcoin. We need inflation to start coming down. We probably, if you look at yields, look at 30-year, for example. And I think, we got some, in the next 2 weeks, we got more inflation numbers coming out. I think with the S&P 500, so before I show, the thing I just wanted to show you quickly on here was, see how this came down in October 23, and this was the last time you really saw some alts do some serious stuff. If you can repeat something of this nature, which I think you got a good shot of doing, repeating something like this, coming back down to these lows, even can get that back down to this area, most likely the market can recover as this goes down. It was kind of the opposite here. Everything went down as the yields went down. And I think it would be kind of, remember that skips a generation. Normally that's what happens. And then this comes down, and then that comes down with it. So that's what we're looking at right there. The other thing I want to show you, if you look at, so I'll show you 2 things here. Let's look at the NASDAQ. This is just a gauge of, this is going to show you why I think inflation might be on its way down. NASDAQ is down 15% on its USD pair, a little over 15. NASDAQ versus the DXY right here is down, remember that 15 number, factoring in inflation, essentially down 13% instead of 15, right? 13.1, and NASDAQ on its USD pair is down 15. You're 2%, so your buying power came down less than your USD pair. What does that mean? That's really good, because if you can, this is when you were in a high inflation time. This came down 36%. That was high inflation. And then against your Dixie, let's do that. It was much worse, like 36, really 46, 10% worse. This is the opposite, 2% better. So that means your inflation's going down. And those new figures that should come out in the next couple of weeks should be good for inflation. Inflation coming down. Once Trump sees the inflation coming down, this is my theory about Trump here, he gets more lenient. Inflation coming down, that means Powell could cut rates. He gets more lenient on the tariffs there. Getting more lenient on the tariffs, what does that also do? More trust in the U.S. stock market, more potential trust in riskier assets, Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins, and more potential of QE. And Powell will even be comfortable because Powell's getting always a little bit nervous about the tariffs. So that's my theory. Now, this is probably the best possible scenario. People are talking about recession, all that. Polymarket's got recession, odds at 40% right now. I don't think you're going to see a recession this year. We'll see what happens. Maybe next year. Maybe, my main view is that you probably won't see one until like the early 2030s or 2030, around there. But, I really don't think you're going to see it this year. Could be wrong, though. This on the NASDAQ does not look the best on the 3-day. Just looking at a potential, sometimes when you look at this against the DXY, it is a fib level right here, but nothing's looking perfect just yet. Actually, crypto is looking a little bit better, except like that weekly. If we could form that, then you could kind of come up here. But I would even argue, Bitcoin and ETH have not made a lower low than NASDAQ has. Typically, you do see a lot of times, I think it is Bitcoin ETH do bottom out before that. I forget off the top of my head, it's a little, but their money flow does look a bit better on Bitcoin and ETH right now. And I do think, looking at these markets, where was that 6-day forming, that weekly forming those waves right here, we could see a continuation. And I mean, for Bitcoin, you get up to maybe, I would say best case scenario, early summer, 120 or something. And then where would that be for ETH? If you do see a lot of money finally come into ETH, there's where you get into your real good case of maybe 4,000, by summer or something. It's hard to exactly say, but a lot could happen here. I wouldn't, count out ETH just yet. You've been down so much. You're due to get one. People ain't going to give up on ETH this easily. That's what I would say. People are not going to give up on ETH this easily. So I think you're going to see a little bit of a turnaround relatively soon. I am in some trades right now. If you guys are interested in some trades, interested more in what I talk about, check out the Discord down below. If you want 10% off your trades, off your trading fees for life on BYDFI and BloFin, only my link down below. Check it out. There's some good trading bonuses and deposit bonuses as well. If you want to check those out, if you sign up to either of those exchanges, deposit at least $100 and open a support ticket with your UID or your email in the Discord, I'll give you one free month in there. So check it out if you guys are interested. If you want more info, just wanted to make this update about ETH. Show you what I think. We'll see what happens here. We'll definitely see what happens here. Last thing I want to just leave you with is, if let's say we do break down, here's a big spot of a jump, high 15s, and then I really don't think you would go below that area. I mean, I guess maybe that 1400, or I guess worst case scenario I could see is 1100, 1200. But for right now, what I'm seeing, I just don't think that's likely based on how that 6-day looks, based on that weekly. You're not going to get a bull div there. Probably not. Yeah, that wave's too down. But a deep wave, last time you saw that was June 22. I mean, it took a while to come up here, but, it still was over 100, and then took a while, and then you were on your way. So, I wouldn't completely count out ETH. That's your technical target for that breakdown. That'll be 15. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed the content, smash the like button. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.